Watts, How to Be Free. Freedom is a universal desire that transcends time, geography, and culture. It is a state of being most people crave but often struggle to attain. Whether it's freedom from external constraints or internal limitations, the quest for freedom has challenged humans for centuries. The need for freedom has become even more critical in our modern world. From the demands of work to the pressures of social expectations, it's easy to feel trapped and constrained. Alan Watts was a renowned British philosopher, writer, and speaker who popularized Eastern philosophy and spirituality in the Western world. His teachings on being free were deeply rooted in Eastern wisdom and aimed at helping people break free from the constraints of societal norms, self-imposed limitations, and the illusion of separateness. According to Watts, we are born into a state of natural freedom. Our task in life is to remember and reclaim this innate freedom through mindfulness, self-inquiry, self-expression, and curiosity. He saw freedom as a way of life rather than a goal to be achieved. Transcend your ego. Waking up to who you are requires letting go of who you imagine yourself to be. Alan Watts. Watts proposed that the path to freedom lies in transcending the ego. He believed that the path to freedom involves letting go of our attachment to the ego, which is the source of suffering and limitation. He saw the ego as a mental construct that we identify with, which creates a sense of separateness and limits our experience of reality. According to Watts, the ego creates a false sense of self separate from the rest of the world, leading to anxiety, fear, and isolation. Watts saw the practice of meditation as a powerful tool for letting go of the ego and accessing a deeper sense of inner freedom. By quieting the mind and observing our thoughts without judgment, we can see through the illusions of the ego and connect with a more profound sense of our true nature. The key to true freedom lies in understanding the nature of reality and the interconnectedness of all things. That means shifting our perspective from a dualistic view of the world, in which we see ourselves as separate from everything else, to a more holistic view. He also believed that by cultivating a deeper awareness of our inner selves, we could break free from the patterns of thought and behavior that keep us trapped in a cycle of suffering and discontent. Surrender to the present. Watts also believed that true freedom involves a deep sense of acceptance and surrender to the present moment. Stop measuring days by degree of productivity and start experiencing them by degree of presence, says Alan Watts. He thought complete engagement with any experience in the here and now is the key to happiness. This is the real secret of life, to be completely engaged with what you are doing in the here and now. And instead of calling it work, realize it as play, he said. He observed that people fail to live meaningfully because they are always preparing to live. He emphasized that controlling or manipulating reality only leads to frustration and suffering. Instead, he encouraged people to embrace life as it is, with all its ups and downs, and to trust in the natural flow of things. If we are unduly absorbed in improving our lives, we may forget altogether to live them, Watts said. He believed that by being fully present in the moment, we could experience a sense of freedom and liberation from time and space constraints. Expand your consciousness. Watts also saw freedom as a state of mind rather than a physical or external condition. He argued that we can free ourselves from our mental constructs and limitations by expanding our consciousness and adopting new perspectives. Watts also stressed the idea of living with spontaneity and curiosity. He believed that real freedom involves breaking free from the rigid structures and routines that govern our lives and tapping into our natural spontaneity. By replacing fear of the unknown with curiosity, we open ourselves up to an infinite stream of possibility. We can let fear rule our lives, or we can become childlike with curiosity, pushing our boundaries, leaping out of our comfort zones, and accepting what life puts before us, Watts said. He thought true freedom cannot be obtained through external means or accomplishments, but is rather a continuous process of self-discovery, growth, and evolution. Let go of expectations. The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. Alan Watts. When we expect things to be a certain way, we are setting ourselves up for disappointment. Instead, we should learn to accept things as they are and be grateful for what we have. According to Watts, expectations are often the source of our suffering. We have expectations about how things should be, how people should behave, and how our lives should unfold. When reality doesn't match our expectations, we become disappointed, frustrated, and even angry. It can lead to a cycle of suffering as we continue to cling to our expectations and struggle to make reality conform to them. However, when we let go of our expectations, we free ourselves from this cycle of suffering. We can accept reality as it is without judgment or resistance. It doesn't mean that we should become passive or stop striving to improve our lives, but rather that we should approach life with an open mind and a willingness to adapt to changing circumstances. Ultimately, the path to freedom involves letting go of our attachment to outcomes, expectations, thoughts, feelings, and beliefs and surrendering to the flow of life. Alan Watts' message of freedom, surrender, self-inquiry, creativity, curiosity, uncertainty, relationality, and ecological awareness resonates with people seeking to break free from the limitations of their minds and live a more authentic, liberated life.